Hello and welcome to the news at 5. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Thank you for joining us. We begin in the health sector. The health sector of Nigeria may be in for a tough time in the next few days as the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors begins a nationwide warning strike from September the 12th, arising from the NARD-ENEC meeting which ended the early hours of Thursday, September 11. The NEC members unanimously resolved to embark on industrial action over what they describe as federal government's failure to honor its promises, citing unpaid 2025 medical residency training fund, 5 months of arrears from the 25%, 35% CONMES review, other salary backlogs, and the 2024 allowance. On Monday, September the 1st, the resident doctors issued a 10-day ultimatum to the federal government and relevant agencies to meet welfare demands, warning that its members would embark on a nationwide strike if nothing is done before the deadline. Now, in Anambra State, reports say some gunmen stormed a burial ceremony in Ogidi community in a Demili North local government area and killed about 4 persons, leaving no fewer than 15 others injured. The fatal attack occurred on Thursday at Ezi village, and the incident was reportedly linked to a clash between rival cult groups. The police spokesperson, Mr. Tochukwu Ikenga, confirmed the incident, disclosing that officers from the division led by the divisional police officer responded swiftly to a distress call and subsequently restored order at the scene and evacuated the victims for medical treatment, adding that about 16 experienced cartridges were recovered as evidence. He explained that preliminary investigation pointed to cult rivalry as a cause of the violence and assured that a discreet investigation was underway to identify, to trace, and apprehend the attackers. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has granted an application filed by the DSS to expedite proceedings in the trial of the suspected mastermind of the August 26, 2011 bombing of the United Nations building in Abuja, Khalid al-Barnawi, and 4 others. The DSS, through its counsel, Mr. Alex Izion, had moved the application for accelerated hearing on the ground that the F-Service is prepared to ensure that the case is determined in a timely manner. In the application, which was not opposed by the counsels to the defendants, parties will be allowed to watch video recording presented by the DSS to prove that the extrajudicial statements made by the defendants was done voluntarily as against the claim of some of the defendants.
The 26th of August 2011 remains a sore day in the history of the United Nations in Nigeria following the attack on the UN House, killing at least 21 persons and leaving 20 others injured. Those suspected of masterminding the attack now have their day in court as they face terrorism charges from the Department of State Services. The business of the day is a continuation of trial within trial of Mohammed Usman, also known as al-Barnawi, and 4 others, which is to enable the service prove its case against the defendants that the extrajudicial statements they made was done voluntarily, as against the claim of some of the defendants. However, counsel to the Department of State Services applied for the video evidence to be played outside the court in the presence of parties and court officials to speed up the trial. Without opposition from counsels to the defendants, the court grants the request and adjourns to the 23rd and 24th of October for continuation of trial within trial.
We applied to the court to speed up that process by allowing counsel to counsel, that is the prosecution and the defense counsel, to watch this video in the presence of the court officers so as to speed up the viewing of this video, they can take notes and then come back and report to the court. While the court will be sitting, we just play it and then the court will see it. In that regard, we would have saved a lot of time. We've been on this video for almost a year now. There are many.
The DSS had in April 2016 arrested Al-Banawi in Lokoja, Kogi State 5 years after the attack. Al-Banawi's trial had begun shortly after his arrest in 2016. However, several legal and administrative issues stalled the trial. He's believed to be a founding member of the Boko Haram Islamist terror group before he became the leader of a breakaway faction.
To the aviation sector now, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has indicted an Air Peace pilot and a co-pilot for taking hard drugs and alcohol. The accident investigators tested the crew for the substances after the aircraft they flew was involved in a runway incursion at the Port Harcourt International Airport on July the 13th. This was contained in a preliminary report signed by the Director of Public Affairs and Family Assistance at the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, Mrs. Bimbo Olawumi Oladeji, which Channels Television obtained from its website. On July the 13th, an Air Peace aircraft had a runway incursion after landing at the Port Harcourt International Airport. The aircraft veered off the runway without any damage. Meanwhile, Air Peace says it's yet to receive any official communication from the NSIB on such findings over a month after the Port Harcourt Airport runway incident occurred and after testing the crew for alcohol shortly after incursion. You'll recall that we just told you that they found a co-pilot had been taking hard drugs and alcohol in their investigations. Now, on the crew, as it observed a strict alcohol use policy, more stringent than the 8-hour rule and strictly non-use for substances. Air Peace says it has maintained a strong safety record over the years, and the captain involved in the incident has been grounded and relieved from further flight duty, while the co-pilot was cleared by the NCAA. Nevertheless, the airline says if the relieved pilot indeed tested positive for any drug, it will commit to increasing testing of its crew. Now, the Joint Task Force Operation Enduring Peace, coincidentally, is extending its peace efforts beyond security operations. At the Government College, Jos, Sector 1 of the task force flagged off a tree planting campaign to combat deforestation, mitigate climate change, and foster peaceful coexistence.
It is a convergence of military commanders, state officials, traditional rulers, religious leaders, and students, all gathered at the Government College Jos for a tree planting campaign organized by Sector 1 of the Joint Task Force Operation Enduring Peace.
In recent years, disturbing changes in the environment.
The commander of the sector, Navy Captain Mahmoud Fana, said the initiative is part of the Army's non-kinetic measures of fostering peace in communities.
Plateau State and Jos in particular has been widely admired for its unique climate, cool weather, and fertile soils. These blessings gave rise to agriculture, tourism, and the reputation of the plateau as the home of peace and tourism. However, in recent years, disturbing changes in the environment have eroded some of these beautiful features. One major driver of this change has been widespread deforestation, which is occasioned by charcoal industry. This charcoal industry has gone a long way to make the greater part of the forest, especially in the hinterlands, to be deforested for the sole purpose of selling charcoal.
The general officer commanding 3 Division, who is the commander of the Operation Enduring Peace, Major General Folusho Oyinlola, described the initiative as one of the non-kinetic strategies to win hearts and minds while tackling the threats of deforestation and climate change.
As we continue to provide security for law-abiding citizens, it is equally important that we promote a clean and sustainable environment. Tree planting is one of the surest ways to achieve this, particularly in mitigating the effects of climate change and protecting the ecosystem.
The Plateau State Commissioner for Education commended the Army for the gesture and urged school principals to make environmental education a priority.
What we will do is that we will come back and meet the principal of the school so that these trees are assigned to students. Let them take care of these trees. Let them learn from this age to take care of something. Taking care of a tree, in future you will come back, your children will come back and see that you did something when you were their age, and they will also be encouraged to plant trees.
With students actively participating, the campaign emphasized the role of young people in sustaining the environment and shaping a greener, more peaceful future.
The Benue State government has begun the construction of the first eco-friendly housing estate in Makurdi, the state capital. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony, the deputy governor of the state, Mr. Sam Ode, pledged that the state government will construct the access road linking the ongoing reconstruction of the Makurdi-Boko Federal Highway to improve road access. He added that the smart estate will be connected to the highway to serve as a part of the urban renewal project for the state capital.
This is the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the first Benue eco-friendly estate in Makurdi, the Benue state capital. The deputy governor of the state, Mr. Sam Ode, is representing Governor Hyacinth Alia at the ceremony.
In the name of the Son and in the name of the Holy Spirit.
Situated on a 5,000 hectares land located around the BBL quarters in the state capital, the project is being executed by the Benue Investment Property Company.
We want to crash everything down to affordable. Aside this, we already have another 30 hectares on Boko Road because we want to reduce the high cost of living, high cost of renting in Benue State, and that's why we are driving this revolution as of today.
The deputy governor is here to flag off the construction of the project and perform the groundbreaking ceremony. The project is connected to other infrastructure that connect investors and diaspora interest to the project. The state government is hoping to commence an affordable housing scheme for civil servants in the state.
We must connect this city to the modern infrastructure that we are putting across the state. Like I mentioned to you earlier, it will be 10 minutes from here to the airport that can take you out of this place and into any part of the world. And so for some people who are living even in the diaspora, they can fly into Abuja, fly into Makurdi from the airport to this place is 10 minutes.
The government of Benue State is partnering seriously with the Federal Mortgage Bank, and government is at advanced level discussions with them to ensure that we have a replication of housing. Civil servants are going to be prioritized, and other non-formal sector workers as well.
The general manager in charge of real estate department at the company provides details on the smart design, security features and solar power supply.
This design here is designed as a smart system. And why do we call it a smart system? Because it has a voice sensitive control. We have 24 power supply here. Solar, that's a solar system. It's going to be powered by solar system. And then we have inverters. Inverters will be in here to supply hours. So that's we're talking about a home where an estate where we have power 24 hours.
The first phase of the project consists of 32 duplexes sitting on a 2-hectare land, while the second phase consists of 48 units sitting on 3-hectare land adjacent to this site.
The federal government, through the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NSIB, is taking a bold step towards boosting its Made in Nigeria initiative. It's to transform the nation's industrial landscape, promote local manufacturing and technology, as well as reduce reliance on foreign products to boost economic growth and job creation.
This strategic meeting on Made in Nigeria products holding in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital, is a crucial step by the federal government through the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NSIB, aimed towards transforming the country's industrial landscape. With manufacturers and NSIB officials rubbing minds, the emphasis is on promoting local manufacturing and technology, reducing dependence on foreign products to boost Nigeria's gross domestic product and fight unemployment.
NSIB is there as an agency to support science innovation, to support science, to support innovations, and to support technological innovation that will drive our economy.
The meeting then dissolved into an interactive session with manufacturers, where some challenges were identified.
Overall, the meeting reinforced the fact that Nigeria has the capacity to become a true manufacturing nation if we harness our resources.
They commended the federal government for making science and technical colleges across the country tuition-free, a step they said will bridge the skills gap and enhance manufacturing in the country.
It's the policy issue we're talking. And on this note, I also want to commend the Minister of Education. Recently, he has ordered the reduction in the number of subjects to be taught in our primary and secondary school, and he has also ordered reorientation in our curriculum. Some of this practical issue is contained in what he is advocating.
Locally produced goods, such as this petrol, electric, hybrid automobile, television, computer laptops, microwave, water dispenser, refrigerators, charcoal stoves, processed food items, among others, were exhibited. Some manufacturers at the event speak on the benefits of their engagement with NSIB and expectations from fellow citizens.
I have learned about how innovation, creativity, and the internet can help make my business known.
What I can tell Nigerians at any point of time is that when you patronize Made in Nigeria, you create jobs. And you help economy. That's the GDP of this nation.
Participants here believe that if Nigerians rally behind local innovations to build a more sustainable and self-reliant economy, NSIB will be laying a foundation for a more innovative future.
Welcome to Business News on the News at 5. Nigeria's crude oil losses have fallen to their lowest point in 16 years. That's according to the latest data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC. The commission says daily losses in July stood at 9,600 barrels per day, the lowest recorded figure since 2009, when losses dropped to an all-time low of 8,500 barrels per day. NUPRC adds it will continue working with security agencies and operators to sustain the downward trend in crude losses. States in Nigeria have been using sukuk instruments to finance infrastructure, though on a smaller scale compared to the federal government, as according to Akeem Ewele, CEO Marble Capital, was a guest on Business Morning, discussing how the new Investment and Securities Act now empowers local governments to issue municipal bonds and sukuk.
Actually, states have been utilizing sukuk instruments to actually finance some infrastructure projects. However, you've not seen them on the public side as you've been seeing the one of the federal government. The closest everybody will know about is the one by Osun State in 2013, and that was the first sukuk that was issued in Nigeria, and they used to build a lot of schools and the like. But we've seen states like Katsina State, Gombe State, Sokoto State actually issue private sukuk, to finance some infrastructure projects in their states. But what we're about to see, which is going to change the dynamics, is the new ISA, that's the Investments and Securities Act, which has given local governments explicit authority to actually issue municipal bonds and sukuk. And we're going to see that impacting on development at the local government levels in the near future. We have to realize that in the last couple of months, we've seen increased autonomy being given to local governments, and that means if you have a strong capacity, a strong leader in any of these local government, there is opportunity for them to actually develop their areas, local government areas at a very fast pace. Nigeria is in need of humongous infra development over the next couple of years. I mean, billions of dollars. So we do not see in the near term the local government, the states, crowding out the federal government. There's so much for them to do, in that space. And financing is key. A well-structured sukuk can actually help both the local government and the state in actually fast-tracking infra growth in their spaces.
Nigeria's cinema industry is bouncing back in a big way, despite concern that the pandemic and the rise of streaming platforms will permanently reshape the consumer behavior. Box office numbers tell a different story. That's according to Ken Okwuosa, Group CEO, Filmhouse Group, who was also a guest on Business Morning, discussing the cinema consumer habits in Nigeria.
This is actually great, especially because there's this huge overhang from COVID. There's a general perception that consumer behavior has changed, which frankly we have. It would be ignorant of us to assume that it hasn't, because it has. The invent of obviously more adoption of streaming has been a factor. But I think that when you look at the box office specifically to Nigeria, I think the cinema-going audience in Nigeria has been generally resilient. And that has been predominantly driven by premium content. We've seen that as we have a steady flow and return of content at that premium level, we have also seen audiences react to it. And that's why, if you look at this year to date, looking at last year versus this year, the box office is already up by almost 60%. Year on year. By the end of September, we're projecting to hit the full year box office of 24 by the end of September in 25. And look, I know you speak about ticket prices. It is a real thing that is happening with us, but it's happening across the entire market. And we're still below inflation generally year on year. And I think that people recognize that, the cinemas are not being exploitative of their market or their audience. And that relationship is very important to the growth of people coming back. We have seen generally that investors are averagely happy with the sectors and their returns from the sectors. And look, we're very realistic, about the investment opportunities that exist in cinemas. The infrastructure of it all is a thing that matters to investors because it's heavily brick and mortar. But I think that the experience and the content leads. And generally, at least on our side, they are happy.
Finally, Britain's economic activity remained flat in July, highlighting continued weakness in that economy as households and businesses face sustained financial pressure. Data from the Office for National Statistics showed no overall growth for the month, as gains in the services sector were offset by declines in manufacturing and construction. The Bank of England, which has held rates steady over a series of hikes to tame inflation, is expected to weigh the weak growth outlook against price pressure in future policy decisions. That's it on the news at 5. Thank you for watching. I'm Olumide Macaulay.